Look at us. We're outside.
We are.
Welcome, everyone, to the outside version of the Dad and Daddy podcast. I'm Nick Cho.
And I'm Kevin Kreider.
We are at a park. Where are we? Like west
side.
West side?
West side.
West side somewhere. We got kids playing outside. The wind is a little windy. The wind is winding. But we thought it'd be nice to get outside. But also, we're being good Koreans. We're in the shade.
Mm-hmm. It was my request to be in the shade.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody's ever said, I appreciate your shirt.
Yeah. It's pretty fun, huh?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I got this. There was, in the Bay Area when I lived there, there was like a kind of Asian American food festival thing. And someone was selling these shirts. I loved it. You know, like we're both East Coast guys, but like living out here. And so this idea of like adopting some of the cultural things like the word hella, whenever I try to incorporate it into my speech, it always feels a little bit like I'm cosplaying like a West Coast person. But the t-shirt does the speaking for me.
That looks great.
Yeah, and I get a lot of comments on it.
Yep.
I think that what's interesting about the comments is that what it makes you realize is it is sort of uncommon or rare for an Asian American to wear like something that says like a bold statement like this. Not that this is like super controversial.
Right, because we're more conservative.
We're just like not the type we're not used to wanting to rock the boat. You didn't grow up with Korean parents, but you still experience a lot of the result of like that kind of cultural sort of stuff.
I did.
Right?
I mean, also, too, I think, like you said, most people aren't used to seeing Asian Americans rock the boat. So I grew up where you could, actually. And so when I did, I feel like people weren't expecting that from me. Yeah. And there was more of a resistance because it's almost like when I speak out on stuff, a lot of people think, who the hell are you? You know? You're not supposed to talk to me like that. Whereas I think other races get a pass.
So much you get a pass, and people are just
used to
more
it.
used to it,
But
right?
that's what I mean. They get a pass.
Yeah.
They get used to it.
I guess it's a certain kind of pass. Like, I suppose that makes sense.
Because it's just not as common.
Yeah. Growing up, being adopted, were there Korean Americans around you?
No, the only Korean American was my piano teacher.
Okay.
And
where did you grow up exactly?
Roxborough, Manayunk in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So I remember.
There are a lot of Koreans in the Philly area.
Yeah, but I mean, where I was in Roxborough, it was more like it was a nice area, but most of Roxborough back then was kind of lower or blue collar, very blue collar. And so we went to private school. But we played sports in my community. So it was very much like, rich kid. But I wasn't rich. It was just like we were middle class. It's just that everybody else was lower.
I see.
Or lower mid. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but my piano teacher was the only Korean experience I've had.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad would be like, isn't she beautiful? Because they were trying to get me. And I'm like, nah.
How did you feel growing up in terms of like what your parents did or tried to do for you regarding like cultural experiences, your Korean American identity, stuff like that?
Well, they never had a handbook, first of all.
Right.
This is way before YouTube and all that stuff. I think they tried their best. I think the problem I was a little resistant to getting piano lessons from the beginning. I never wanted to do it. That was the one thing they actually told me they enforced because they're like, we always thought of our children being musically inclined.
We heard Koreans are going to have to either play violin or piano. Okay.
I was like, I wanted to play the drums though. Like, why didn't you let me play the drums? And so playing the piano actually made me more distant towards being Asian or Korean culture. Because I'm like, my only exposure was my piano teacher. I'm like, oh my gosh, if all Korean women are like this, I don't want to be Korean.
Yeah.
But there's way more.
Yeah. Yeah. My experience talking to transracial adoptees, specifically Korean Americans, that there is this, I almost want to call it a myth, actually, right? But it's an understandable sort of like misunderstanding or assumption that adoptees would have about the people who grew up with Korean parents, that their understanding of their sort of Korean cultural heritage would be a lot more clear. Because
Yeah.
I think that that's very much a grass is greener on the other side type of thing. I
Totally.
don't think that it's much more clear.
I don't think it's more clear, but it's unclear in different ways.
Right.
Both experiences are unclear in different ways.
Sure.
I like to think me being Korean adopted, I almost feel like a half Asian, half white person. You know?
Like biracial, bicultural.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I see it. I think Koreans, I can't speak for your experience, but like, I think the identity is more like, I know I'm Korean, right? Because you go to a family household, you see Korean, but maybe there's a little bit of like, you want to be seen as the whole, like American? Like,
So
what is that?
Last episode, I mentioned that I went overseas for a year during college. And like, the conversations about Korean American identity, like these were things that have been important to me and that I'd had in different sort of settings with different people over
And you
the
had it
years.
overseas as well?
Well,
these
the thing is,
conversations?
so here's what happened. So when I was here, it's like we're talking about Korean American identity. This is in the like late 80s, early 90s, like circa 1990.
Wow.
And talking about like, Korean American, like, we're not Korean. And a lot of the conversations then were about like, our parents can't expect us to sort of live like, they never left Korea, things like that. And then I think right around that time, I was becoming aware of this idea because someone had shared it with me that, oh, your parents' understanding of what it means to be Korean is a time capsule from 1974 when you moved.
Right.
And that actually, like, Koreans in Korea are a lot more kind of progressive in terms of their understanding of what it means to be Korean. Whereas for your parents, they're like a walking time capsule, So then I go overseas to Bangladesh, to Dhaka, Bangladesh, the capital of Bangladesh. And I was working with a Korea-based, what they call NGO, non-governmental organization, basically nonprofit, like a charity organization that was there, like a missionary. They had different schools. They had music schools where I was, what I was involved in. And then they had like a garment workers school. They had a bunch of different like projects as part of their organization. But they were Korea-based. So for them, I was the American guy. Okay.
You felt different still, right?
Well, but this thing is, like, to them, I'm the American guy, which makes sense. To the Americans there, I was like the Korean guy. Right. And then to the Bangladeshis, I was like the Chinese guy because they didn't know what Korea was then, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, I was very, like, much faced with the reality of nobody else around here has any clue what the hell Korean American is. They're like, you can't just throw two words together and have them make sense.
Right.
So I spent a lot of that year just really kind of mulling over, well, what does this mean then? And I realized that ultimately at the end of the day, like, because, okay, like I say I'm Korean American, but what I guess being in that setting made me realize is how much that we rely when it comes to identity. We say identity, and identity is something about me. Like, it's me defining me, telling the world who I am. But what I don't think that people experience, or what happened to me was all of a sudden thrust into a place where I thought I knew what I was, and then I would, again, proclaim to others, and they did not acknowledge like that at all. To them, it didn't make sense.
Right.
It's like saying that you're a species
Right.
that no one's ever heard of.
I would get like, how are you American? You're Asian. Like when I was in Asia a lot. Is that what you kind of got?
It wasn't even that.
Wasn't even that.
Like I don't think it for me went that deep. It was more just like realizing like, oh, because I'm sort of one of one here, when I'm faced with my own identity, I couldn't rely on anyone else to reflect it back at me. There was no community to like be a part of. There wasn't even like, woke white people to sort of be able to be like, I see you, kind of thing back at me, or anyone.
Right.
I was faced with the reality of, if I am going to claim this identity, whatever that identity is, I have to claim it for myself, regardless of how anyone else sees it or feels about it. And I think that was like, of many things, like a really interesting, formative, important experience for me. Like it kind of solidified things in a way, even though I'm an extrovert, as we talked about last episode, that I can't rely on other people to validate that for me.
Right.
Like they're not here, and I think that that's something that was a lasting, like, kind of change for me. It's hard to, I think, explain. I think maybe you can imagine what that's like, but it's hard when, like, even for you, I'm sure that as soon as at some point you started finding community, either among Asian Americans, Korean Americans, other adoptees, right?
Totally. Well, I think the community part was very important, right? So, like, I think what I loved about, I always bring things back to sobriety a lot because it's the thing I can relate to the most.
Yeah.
What I love about it is that we can come from different races, cultures, backgrounds, colors, and yet we're still a community because we come here for a singular purpose. Mm-hmm. I think what's tricky about the Asian community is that we come here for a singular purpose, but it's many different purposes.
Yeah.
But we're encompassed in the same group, which is very conflicting a lot of time.
There's the conversation about what Asian American even means.
Yeah, because it was made up, right?
Well, Asian American identity was sort of, I don't want to say invented, but my understanding is that, like, it was either UCLA or UC Berkeley, that it was like college students at some point, in reaction to the civil rights movement, basically saying, like, we need to have a part in this too. Yeah. People have made the important distinction that Asian American is a political identity. It's not an ethnic one, right? Because Asian can mean lots of things. Like, how much do I have in common with South Asians from Bangladesh or from India, Pakistan? How much do I have in common with someone from Malaysia, Philippines, kind of thing? And then it gets even broader when the month that we have, the Heritage Month, also is like Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian. It's been added to that as well, which is great. But then it does have a way of feeling a little bit like we have Black History Month, the white history and stuff is a separate issue. There's is it Latin or Hispanic?
I think they got a month for everything now.
Yeah,
right?
but like the API month feels like the other, right? It's like the other box is checked, in a way. But the way I've been dealing with that is that I am trying to be a lot more specific about when I say Asian American, make sure that that's actually the right word you want to use. Like, if you mean Chinese, Japanese, Korean, then say East Asian. If you mean like Korean or Chinese or whatever, Vietnamese, like, say that. Like, don't be lazy about your language. I mean, again, but that's just me. Like, when it comes to this specific topic, the way I've tried to deal with the complexities of what does it even mean is, like, I want to be specific about and intentional about which term I'm using, and not just default to, because we're Asian Americans. It's like, we're Korean, we're Korean American, you and I are. It's much more relevant than saying Asian American, though we'll say Asian American sometimes too.
I do say it a lot. Yeah. Although, like, I think for me too, being Korean adopted, sometimes I disconnect from being Korean a lot because I wasn't raised Korean. So the culture is not ingrained.
It's not familiar.
Yeah, it still feels a little foreign.
Have you visited Korea?
A couple times.
Yeah.
It still feels foreign to me.
Yeah, I mean, it feels foreign to me too.
Yeah, that's what, even like the humbucks and all that kind of stuff, when I see it, still feels like a different world. So I think that's why I say Asian American a lot, because I don't have that cultural tie to anything.
Yeah. Do you feel like, is that something that you're interested in cultivating more for yourself?
I was, but I got to tell you, I feel very rejected by Korea a lot of times. Even my first time going to Korea, it was like, what do you mean you don't know Korean type of thing?
When was this?
This is back in 2010.
Okay.
Like, you should really learn, you should feel, like, you even sometimes get comments like you should feel ashamed for not knowing your language. Like,
People have said that to you?
In many ways, yes,
Really?
yes. I mean, like the thing is though, like they would always say like you're not really Korean or something.
Wait, who
you know?
said this though?
In Korea?
Like who? What kind of people?
Just people, like I just thought. Okay,
Did people really say this to you?
so okay, here's another thing that happened. I was looking to go into the talent system.
Sure.
And that definitely makes you not feel like you're Korean.
I mean, that can also make someone like me feel like I'm not tall enough or good looking enough.
Yeah.
What was the word that you used? Ravishingly handsome or,
Oh, that was the first episode. Wow, you really remember that one. Devilishly handsome.
devilishly handsome,
Yeah.
like
I think also too, just the beauty standards are so different, makes you feel rejected.
that's about marketability. Like that can be for anyone. Like you don't have the look
I
that
think also just not knowing Korean, but being used as an excuse not to hire you for any type of stuff, but yet they're very lenient when it comes to white people or other people. They don't even know English. I mean Korean, and yet they still get shots.
yeah.
So I think that's where the rejection feels.
I mean, again, like I don't know. I have no reason to make any excuses for them, right? I have yet to be able to really connect with any sort of Korean companies in that way. I've tried also. I've visited and had meetings and stuff, and they're like vaguely interested, but for them it's like, especially like for someone like me who is sort of in the influencer content creator sort of side of things, they're a little bit like, well, can we see your analytics and your follower base here in Korea? It's like, well, I don't really have one. It's very like, it's too low on the list to even show up on the analytics page.
Right.
Korea is. I found out, what did I say the other day? Like India is my number 2 for, I think, was it Instagram or TikTok? It was
TikTok.
It was actually Instagram.
It was Instagram.
Yeah. I don't know
Surprised
how
about
that
that.
happened. This is new. This is something more recent. I had not seen that on that page before. But, there's a certain marketability factor that is always going to be an element. But I mean, I think that, isn't that an interesting sort of thing though to unpack, which is like for you, and this makes total sense. So there's no shame in it whatsoever, but it makes so much sense that what would otherwise feel like, okay, they didn't see me as marketable, to you would feel like rejecting you because of your lack of, like you're missing something that's tied to your Koreanness, like who you are.
Well, it's because like you're not marketable in America either. So then you aren't marketable here either. So where are you?
I mean,
and it's really just because I don't know Korean. I know it makes sense to not, but then you need to not give white people so much slack and not know Korean.
well, that boils
And
down to like,
But they're
Self-titled
looking
in.
for a white person. You know
Yeah,
what I
they're-
mean? And so that's
sometimes that's what it is.
yeah,
I mean,
for
to
like a
me,
specific role.
it reminds me of the sort of concept of like, casting, right? Like when someone's casting someone for a part in a movie, show, like whatever, generally my understanding and having experienced a little bit of it, you've experienced it more than I have, is like, the casting director and whoever is the decision makers, they have a general idea, some kind of sketch out in their mind of what qualities this character would have. And they're basically like bringing people and trying to hold them up next to the two images, and who kind of comes closest, or like, what makes the most sense. So the casting process, while it's very competitive and can be demoralizing and like all that sort of stuff, it's not about, are you a good actor? It's not about, are you attractive? Are you good looking? It's, did you fit the image for that particular thing? Obviously in certain situations, it's more, that criteria can be more specific than others. I don't know. Like again, while not in any way calling bullshit on anything that you're saying, it's interesting to sort of unpack, like, how these, let's call them rejections, are landing, and how I guess it ultimately makes you feel.
Well, it's like, how can I not break through if this person can? Like, I'll take a good example of actually what I'm talking about. In Physical 100, it's supposed to be a Korean show. They have white people on it.
Sure.
And they're dubbing their English with English. They're not speaking Korean.
Right.
They don't know Korean.
Yeah.
Why are they allowed on that show?
We decided that would
They want a white person on that show.
they wanted to mix things up for whatever reason.
It's Physical 100 Korea. Like, I don't know why you want to add a white person in there, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just saying it's like, it's just, there's just these hypocrisies that I see that I'm just like, wow, you give exceptions for that. Oh, it's an exception though. We need something like that. We need a white person to validate or to increase our exposure or reach. And I'm like, dude, we're the largest population, just Asian Americans. And like Korea has the biggest market for entertainment of all of Asia now. I'm like, why don't you just, what do you need a white person on
Wasn't
it?
there a chef? I feel like I could be remembering wrong on the black white Korean name is the black white spoon thing.
I mean, Ed was Korean American.
Ed?
Ed Lee.
Well, food is definitely a language for everybody though, too. But also too, I think it's weird. It's like in American history, Asian Americans thrive in culinary because that was considered a feminine job back then. So legally, America only allowed Asian Americans, mostly Chinese though, coming in, feminine jobs. So that's why there's dry cleaning. There's a lot of cooks because it was a way to kind of emasculate the Asian man. So that's why they thrive.
It was things that people didn't necessarily want, like other men didn't want to do. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they legalized only. It was actually illegal for them to have other jobs at one point.
I'm
in
not
American
familiar
history.
with this stuff, but yeah.
It's in my book.
Yeah,
so.
You did the research.
Yeah. But that's why, I mean, chefs and cooking, there's a lot of leeway for
This
that.
is before the rise of the celebrity chef kind of phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Proud of the Asians for, having food in that.
But I wonder because, like, my experience was very different. Like, I'm not Korean, but there was, like, because I've consumed, like, a lot of Korean.
He watches a lot of Korean shows. Nowadays, a lot of Chinese shows, but a lot of Korean shows.
But, like, I've consumed not just, like, the shows, but, like, I'm familiar with, like, their media and, a bunch of stuff. So, and, picking up certain words or whatever. So there was a familiarity for me. So going there felt very like comfortable, I guess, rather than like, when I visit some other countries, like, like going to France was, challenging the first time because I don't speak the language or, like that. So there was a certain kind of
and she was
shock.
with me going to Korea, so
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
nice.
true.
yeah.
But there is a sense of feeling like a little bit uncomfortable. But where I can relate with you is that I've always felt uncomfortable or not like seen wholly in like Chinese spaces because like I'm part Chinese but not full Chinese.
We talked about this on the podcast yet about how Kimmy is Asian the way that white people are European.
What's that mean?
So Kimmy is Thai, Chinese, and Vietnamese ethnically,
Oh, she's
but then
all
grew
that,
up in culturally Cambodian.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so, like, she has loose, familiarity with mostly Cambodian culture, a little bit Chinese. But when we first got together, I was like, I hope this is gonna land, in the right way. But like, yeah, you're so interesting. You're Asian the way that white people are, like, from European heritage. Like mixed of different things, and not predominantly very much more, more one than the other.
Yeah.
So I wonder with you, Kevin, is that it's like, for me, I know that it's a certain kind of feeling of like a rejection from like all the, ethnicities he had listed. Like, I don't ever feel like I'm a part of any of those spaces because I didn't grow up culturally in all of those, and I don't know it.
But I think I'll relate it to casting in that sense because it's like look at a lot of the actors that are white that are European, right? Like you can look at Thor. They don't actually ask for a white Asgardian, right? They just look for a white figure that could look like Thor. They don't care where he's from. He's Australian or whatever. I think he's Australian.
Yeah.
So that is actually a little bit more progressive, I would say, to be that way. But like, I wish casting and other ethnicities could see that. Like, Daniel Day Kim did a great article in the Variety saying basically there's been an overcorrection in casting. We're so ethnic specific. Like, you can only be Korean if you play Korean. It's like, well, does it really call for it though? Like, is it an autobiography? Is it based off of a real person?
See,
but
the
if it's
thing is,
fictional,
those are all true, But I feel like if I was a casting director that wasn't Asian American who saw this, like saw that article, I don't think I'd be able to say it publicly, but I'd feel like they'd be like, but that's not what you told us 5 years ago.
No,
If 5 years ago you told us that the Koreans had to be played by Koreans, it's a little bit like, what do you want from us? Like, not to say that either one is wrong. It just goes to show that there's enough injustice and unfairness in these things that under the surface that just makes everyone feel like disgruntled about it.
Yeah, because it's like, I get what you're saying. It's like, we did what you wanted.
Yeah.
Now you're saying
Now you're
we're
unhappy
wrong.
with what you asked for.
Yeah. I hear that. I wasn't part of all of that conversation before because I was always like, why can't I play that role? I don't have to speak Japanese. So if I'm good for the role, why can't I at least audition for it or something, And then you can see if I'm good for the role or not.
Sure.
So, but that's what I think what Daniel Day Kim was saying. There has been a correction, but it's an overcorrection. So it's kind of like the seesaw. It's like one extreme, like white people were playing Asians. The overcorrection was like, okay, now only they can play certain roles. But then
Asians should play Asians.
Asian players should play Asian.
I'm trying to think of like a time when something came up in a film or a show. Like, for instance, you interviewed Margaret Cho for your prior podcast.
Yeah.
Did you watch All American Girl back in the day?
I didn't. I never even heard of it back then.
Yeah. You were
I was
younger.
too young.
There might have been one other Korean person in the family cast. I think the guy who played her father, I think, might have been Korean, but the others were not. B.D. Wong played her brother, if I remember correctly, and then I forgot her name, who played like the grandmother. Like, I think she was Filipino. It was like vaguely Asian, but no one else was Korean. And I remember being kind of irritated at that then.
Yeah.
It was like Joy Luck. Was it Joy Luck Club?
Joy Luck Club also, everyone was supposed to be Chinese, but like the one mom character was Vietnamese. I think so.
Yeah.
But it's like that point I was a little bit too young to probably hear some of the political sort of chatter about it then. This is pre-internet. Same thing with All American Girl. But there were, I'm trying to think if there was a time where it was like a really big deal. Was it Memoirs of the Geisha?
Because she's not Japanese.
Yeah.
The main lead.
What's her name?
Zhang Ziyi.
Zhang Ziyi. Yeah. I think that might have been like one of the more prominent examples of that.
Yeah, I guess the thing that I just always go back to is like, if we hold that standard, then we should also hold it standard to white people. And why don't white people hold the standard of like, you're not really Irish,
Or you're not really from New York.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Because it's too autobiographical. I think the problem is we just had so
Autobiographical?
Autobiographical. I think we just had so little representation that we went overboard. And some people are still stuck in that, which I'm not actually okay with. But at the same time, like, I think we need to get to the same privileges of being an artist like everybody else. That's all.
And that's a whole other thing to tackle when we're talking about white privilege and Asian access.
But that's what I'm saying. There is a privilege to it as a white person to do that. But I'm just saying, though, like, why can't we get to that?
Well,
I know the reason why, but...
What's the reason why? What would you say?
Well, because each culture's so different. You're never going to be able to change Japanese people's minds on that. The Japanese who watch this are going to be upset that there's not a Japanese person playing this.
You don't think it's anything to do with
I think
white supremacy?
Well, no, it's white supremacy too. But like, my thing is like, I don't understand why, if that's not going to change though, by the way, the white supremacy of the idea that they can play other roles and mix in different races and cultures.
I have a whole thing about this. I guess we'll get into it.
Okay.
So you were born in Korea, and you were adopted, brought to the U.S. The idea of you are Korean, like that sits with you and it means something to you. Even though you didn't grow up in a Korean family, speaking the language, surrounded by the culture, like you have like an emotional, like you have it's like almost a spiritual, but like a what's the word I usually use?
Affinity for it?
No, there's like you have a kind of an existential understanding that like you're Korean.
Yeah.
That's true for every other kind of person in America, except for most white people.
They just see themselves as American.
They just see themselves as like generally white. And their ancestry is an interesting note. It's like literally trivial. It's like a thing that's on their 23andMe that they have no emotional connection to.
Right. It's not like Irish people are making Irish potatoes or doing bagpipes in America.
Well, now it's important to, because, you know, people will complain, like there are definitely white people in America who do have like a close understanding and that their European heritage is really important to them. There are a lot of Scandinavians in like the Midwest, like Minnesota, like Wisconsin, that area. I think more Minnesota, if I remember. A lot of people, obviously, like in the, you know, tri-state area, like Italian Americans, Irish.
Italians, definitely.
You know, for sure. People who celebrate their European heritage, and it's really important to them. You know, we know some people like that. But the majority of white people in America, there's no understanding of that. And so because they don't have it and they feel perfectly normal, they think it's normal to not have that.
Okay.
And so then what makes sense then from there is if you have some understanding of like that you come from another place, then surely that means that you're less American than me, you know, than them.
Right.
And so this is not about people, neo-Nazis, white supremacist kind of people. This is like a very normal part of American existence. That for them, it's like, well, yeah. So to me, it's a little bit like, you know, if you can forgive the kind of, what people might call like the ableist sort of analogy here, you know, it's like people with one eye thinking it's normal and thinking that having two eyes is like weird and like almost like less, you know, because those white people, white Americans, they did come from somewhere. They came from, you know, different places in Europe. So we're supposed to feel like we're less American because you forgot where you came from? That you have like through generations, essentially a cultural amnesia, whether it's through the formation of white identity in the early 1900s and like for different reasons. Like that was kind of erased from American, you know, culture as being like a really important thing. Yeah, this is something that I've been meaning to talk about a lot more because I don't think that I've only heard like one content creator somewhere randomly was talking about something similar. This idea of this weird paradox, this flipping of the script that like, how can people who have an understanding of where they come from be somehow less than the people who forgot where they come from, you know? But it's just very normal. It's very normalized.
Yeah, it is. I think it's because a lot of Americans were born here. So also they're born in a time where America was, and arguably still is, the greatest country. So it's like they associate with America. I mean, you can tell them they're not, and they're still not going to believe it, by the way, right? Like everybody can have their different opinions on what the greatest country is, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if they believe they're the greatest country, why would they say like, oh, and by the way, I'm also Irish? Where it's like, a lot of people don't even think of Ireland for anything, you know? So I think the amnesia comes from that. It's like, they grew up in a time where America is the greatest place to be. They don't know anything else. And so they're American.
It was only like a little over 100 years ago when it was different. Yeah. You know, the white people in America knew where they came from or had a much more of an idea in general. It wasn't normalized to sort of have this idea of like, I'm white, period. You know?
Do you think Asian Americans will start having that amnesia?
I hope not. I'm not so naive as to think that like, you know, the whole country is going to come around to this point of view and start like realizing, you know, but to me, it's like it would be one solution that would solve a lot of problems, you know.
If they remember where they came from.
Or if they at least acknowledge that it was something that was missing, you know, and maybe try to reclaim some of that, you know. That because for us, it's like we have all the burden of being Americans just like them. But they have a lighter load in a way because they're not worried about the other stuff.
No.
You know, they're not worried about how, like, you know, maintaining, you know, like you talk about having kids, you know, in a prior episode, and inevitably it's going to come up like, well, what does my Koreanness mean for my children?
Right,
and in their lives.
Right.
You know, my daughters, you know, they're young adults now. It's been so interesting, and it's honestly been a thrill watching them grapple with their Korean American identity and try to like learn more Korean, try to explore that more. But most importantly, like to wrestle with it, you know, to struggle with it. Like to me, it's like it just makes me so proud, you know, because if there's one thing very Korean, it's that all good things come with suffering and hardship. You know, that's a lot of Asian cultures. But
I think Asians and Jewish culture are very closely tied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
They very
It's true.
much are. Yeah.
I like how you're very like you're in a very Jewish time in your life.
I am. I really am.
Kimmy's been in a very Chinese time in her life.
I think we all go through different phases.
What am I in? I'm in a very Pokemon time in my life. No,
Yeah.
that's not true.
I can see that. Your energy feels Pokemon to me.
I don't know if it's time to move on from this topic, but I've been struggling with this thing recently. I'm interested in some feedback from you. Because we talk a lot about your struggles. We don't talk about my struggles too much. At least not my current struggles.
Let's hear it.
I'm trying to figure out how to enjoy like hobbies, like recreational time. So
Yeah, I had that too.
oh really?
Oh yeah.
So
Did you ever have any hobbies before Pokemon?
when I was a kid, you know, like I think video games can count as a hobby. When I was a young, like 7th grade, I built and was playing with like remote control cars, you know, those radio control cars, like the ones that go really fast. Like I was doing that. What other hobbies have I had? A lot of computer-based sort of things, like video production's been a hobby of mine, making little short films. I've been doing it since I was a kid. That's why, you know, I do what I do now. That's why we do this, you know. When we're setting up, you were commenting on like how I seem to know what I'm doing when I'm setting up. I mean, I think this is pretty rudimentary, but at the same time, it's like it's been stuff that I've been working on since I was like 14 years old.
So I have a question. Are you not enjoying your hobbies? Is it because you're trying to think of how to make this hobby bigger, or what is it? Because a true hobby, you don't think about monetization on it.
Sure.
Letting other people. I mean, you think about letting people enjoy it and letting people know about it, but I think as men, we're hardwired of like, oh, what can I do to make money from this sometimes?
Let's get kind of real and personal.
Yeah.
I think it's only hitting me now, Kimmy, that what it really is that I'm not really sure I know how to do stuff for me. And it's not just that for hobbies. Like, this comes up, like, for instance, like with sex, even. That, like, it's something that I've been trying to kind of work out for myself is this idea that like something that is pleasurable, fun, enjoyable for myself feels selfish, feels like a waste of time. Maybe I'm not sure I deserve it, but I feel guilty. So like when I go to play golf, like I played golf with my friend Hamilton yesterday. I had a great time, but I had a great time because I was playing with him. You know, I was visiting with him. Yes.
Let me ask you this question then. Do you think that you feel differently on the days that you win or that you played really good golf? Somehow that's
it's a distraction.
Somehow that says this was worth it.
Yeah. That there was like if I do really well, then it like justifies the time expense.
That's why you're playing Pokemon against 19-year-olds, right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes they're like 8 years old, literally.
That's something to kind of like unpack.
Well, but that's the thing. It's like, when I do well, then it feels like there's like, well, at least I can say that that's a justification. And there's a little bit of a, whatever hormone it is, endorphins or whatever, that feels good in the moment of like feeling like you did really well. Yeah. But then right afterwards, like the feeling comes back of like feeling like, what am I doing? I'm just wasting time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it obviously has to do with, for me, like with my parents and instilling a lot of shame in those regards.
So
like you're wasting your time a lot.
This occurred in a relationship and out of a relationship, right? When you're in a relationship, you feel guilty about having hobbies, and when you're out of a relationship, you do as well.
There was a day I used to play a lot of video games as a young person, from Atari and then Nintendo, and then like a lot of computer games through the 90s. And then it was shortly after I divorced my first marriage from my kid's mom.
Okay.
It wasn't very long after that I would pick up a Xbox controller or whatever and just like feel frustrated. Like, this just doesn't feel fun, and it used to feel fun. And I'm not sure timeline wise why that happened then. I'm not sure about.
Right.
But what I do know is that I definitely know it had a lot to do with how I grew up and my parents making me feel guilty, for like wasting time, and that like I wasn't studying, that I wasn't getting straight A's, that it was all tied to performance and academics and like pride in that regard. My parents was this weird curse that like when I was a young kid, I got an IQ test and I came back like not just high, like off the charts. And my dad
didn't come back off the charts, is what you're saying.
Huh?
You didn't come back with off the charts.
No, I was off the chart.
Oh, you were off the chart.
Yeah. My dad
Gotcha.
went to Seoul National University med school. He was like, I went to the top school in Korea with the best and brightest, and none of those people I went to school with had an IQ like yours, kind of thing.
My parents won't tell me my IQ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like my IQ is like 170.
That's high.
This was like second grade
high.
like test.
Holy shit.
So say what you will about IQ tests.
Yeah.
It's really high, allegedly.
Uh-huh.
And so, I don't say that with any kind of pride. It's this weird it's been this weird element in my life where like I'm not really sure how it fits into everything, because, I was not a good student. I was bored with school.
It's probably why you weren't a good student.
Probably.
It's too easy, probably.
I think it wasn't that it was too easy, for sure.
Or you just didn't find interest because
I just didn't find it interesting. If I found this class interesting, 100% straight A's.
Yeah.
But if I didn't find it interesting, then it was impossible for me to, apply myself. And so like that sort of duality of like really high IQ and high potential, therefore, but then like, man, my high school GPA was like a 1.6. It was terrible. I got like F's in a bunch of classes because I just didn't turn in homework, or projects. Like I was a horrible student, But in college, I would like not turn in papers for certain classes because I was spent time writing papers for my classmates for money.
Wow. Wow.
They would pay me
You
to
were
write,
ahead of the time. Yeah.
like in early 90s, like $100 was a lot,
saying,
for a college
business.
student.
Starting a
And I would
business.
write 2 or 3 papers for the class and then be too like burnt out to write my own, One of the things that you and I have in common is that by any stretch from the outside, people watching, listening, it's like these are 2 very successful guys, like very successful, like hit shows, millions of followers, like all that kind of stuff. But there's still going to be part of me and you that is like, that stuff doesn't mean anything, and I guess that's the problem, is like, I don't know how to, like, I'm proud of what I've done that I'm proud of. I'm not proud of 4 million followers because that wasn't up to me. I didn't make that happen. Like people and the algorithm decided this was something that was interesting. Stuff I was putting out. Yeah. I'm proud of the connections, and I'm proud of like the ways that it's helped people and brought any kind of benefit, even if it's just a little bit of entertainment or like, pleasant experience. But to me, like, those things are all just still, I'm like not satisfied. And again, it's something I think you and I share. It's like, I'm not done.
I was actually going to say one thing is like, did you know that once you know your IQ test, I heard that your IQ actually drops.
Okay.
So I think
Yeah.
just a fun fact.
Thank
I
you.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's
Makes
not
you feel much
170
better.
anymore. Maybe it's 160 now, but it's still high. It's still high. But actually, my parents never told me on my IQ. They know both of me and my brother's IQ. They actually still to this day refuse to tell us.
You could go take a test if you're that curious.
I kind of want to know what it was because I want to know why they didn't want to tell us. But so I think I'm either a super genius like you or just a dumbass, and they're like they don't want to make me feel bad,
I'm sure you're not a dumbass.
or just very average.
Or it might be that and rightly so, like they've heard from somewhere that it wasn't a good idea for people
Maybe.
to know. Because
Maybe.
I wish I didn't know.
Right. You'd be 10 points higher.
Well, it's just like I got put into like gifted and talented schools, and in the recent years, there's been a movement of people who went to gifted and talented schools who are starting to realize, like, oh, we thought this was like this big benefit. This was special education. They were pulling us and setting us aside so that they could focus on like, teaching and not have these distractions.
Right.
Like, I don't know how much validity there is to that, or if it's just like a cynical view.
Yeah.
But there's a point there.
Yeah. My biggest struggle that I've realized is going with your hobbies is celebration.
Yeah.
So whenever I accomplish something, I've even had exes say, like, what do you want to do to celebrate? My go-to is always just something to eat, right? But it just started to get like, I thought about it, I was like, what do I do that I enjoy? And when people ask me, what do you do outside of work? I was like, besides the doing yoga once in a while, but now I can't even say that because I realized I don't like doing yoga. Like working out, maybe reading, but like, what do I do to celebrate? To show like, kind of like what you were saying, like my hobbies. Like, and I realized like at one point I didn't have any. So before this, like my literary agent texted me, like my book's now on Barnes and Nobles for pre-order. This doesn't feel like a time for celebration. Whereas like 5 or 10 years ago, I would have shat my pants that my book is on Barnes and Noble's shelves.
Right.
And I would be, woo! But now it's more like, I have that dread of like, okay, how do I get all these sales now?
Right.
And it's
But
not
now
like,
it's published, and then you got to sell.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even if I hit that sales market, it's more like, well, how do I get more?
Right.
Or what do I do now with this?
Yeah.
And I don't even take a time to slow down to like do something to enjoy it.
Yeah.
When I got into a relationship, I stopped doing my one self-care thing, which was I would get a massage every month, every 2 months. But once I got into a relationship, I'm like, okay, now I got to earn this.
Oh.
I don't know why. It just, for some reason, my mind
So that's
switched
why you
to
were
like,
asking me before
yeah,
about relationship, not
because I'm a lot
relationship.
more stricter on myself for self-care when I'm in a relationship. It's almost like I have to keep proving myself to have these enjoyments, but I shouldn't have to. I should just do it just because, like, my body aches. I should get a massage,
Yeah.
And I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I deprive myself, almost like afraid of if I enjoy something for a minute, I'm going to lose my edge. I'm going to slack off.
Yeah.
I'm going to be left behind.
Yeah.
And I think that is something I want to get rid of. Like, do you feel like you'll lose your edge if you enjoy things too much?
No.
No?
It's not that. It's more like I don't know how to find joy in that stuff. It's not that I don't know how to find joy. Like I find joy in other people, celebrating others.
Yeah,
I have
but
no
for your
problem.
own self
Yeah.
enjoyment. That's
Yeah. That's why I kind of, these things are always a little bit
Birthdays.
uncomfortable. I hate birthdays.
I was
hate my
I
birthday.
was actually going to predict that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried to sort of like kind of grit my teeth and shut my eyes and just be like, okay, we're going to do this and like not think about it too much. But, and it's a little different now that my kids are older and like, it feels like they want to, then
Oh,
I
so
get,
we kind of force you to. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a very big birthday person.
Yeah.
Like, celebrate.
I
Yeah.
think women are way better at celebrating for themselves than I think men are for sure.
but I gotta say, like, this is all stuff that like Kimmy has really been such a great support on, like kind of, as a sounding board and like talking things through. But I mentioned like, for instance, sex before. It's like I'd heard a few years ago that like, the connection and intimacy of sex there's a way that you're each kind of being selfish, maybe taking turns, but there's sort of like a selfishness to it without, without self-consciousness, that is sort of required that I think I struggle with,
Take
that
care
regard.
of self first.
Not
'Cause
first.
you see it as selfish then, it seems like.
Giving and mutuality, but then when it's like
Okay, that's not where I thought it was going to go.
a receiving sort of stuff, I have a lot of trouble on the receiving part.
Yeah, no,
if
that's
that
what I was
makes
going to
sense.
say. Like, for your birthday, if somebody throws you a party, are you okay with that?
Yeah, but the way I channel it is that I get focused on the guests and them having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we had a big party for my 50th. Probably the biggest birthday party I've ever had actually in my life. And Kimmy is an incredible planner, as she's incredible in so many different ways, and brought a lot of people together. This is before we met. I was like focused on just the everyone getting together part.
Well, I'm going to show you how it's done, Nick, because my birthday's coming up.
Yeah?
And I'm going to invite people. I'm doing my own. I'm celebrating for myself. This is my first time I'm throwing a birthday thing for myself, because for many years I didn't want to celebrate birthdays either for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you, I'm going to bring my hobby included. So you're going to
Okay.
play Magic the Gathering with me. And I'll show you how to celebrate a birthday for yourself.
Okay.
I'm not going to be too worried about the guests as much.
Yeah.
It's going to be about me. I'm going to show you. But not selfishly where you're not going to have a good time.
Do you have a massage place now?
I just got my first one in probably 4 years.
So we know what to get him for his
This week.
birthday. I'm giving you a massage.
You're going to give me a massage?
Well,
Are you sure it's not your birthday
we'll,
gift?
We'll figure. No,
That
no,
sounds like a
I'm
birthday
not
gift for
giving
you.
Not with these hands.
Okay.
We'll figure out a massage for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is, I think, definitely a good topic to
Yeah,
ask
100%.
folks, for your participation, your feedback. Like, does any of this resonate with you? Love to hear your stories.
Yeah, like what hobbies do you even have?
Yeah, like how do you think of hobbies as hobbies, and any of this sort of stuff like resonated for you? Can you relate? Have you felt the same way, or did you feel that way before? And how did you kind of grow into where you are today? I'd love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you, right?
Totally.
Yeah. But in the meantime, dadanddaddy@gmail.com or Dad and Daddy Show on Instagram, on YouTube. Find us. You don't have to say find us. You've already found us.
You
You're
already
here.
found us.
If you're listening to this, you're already here.
Help other people find us.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for hanging out at the park with me.
Totally, man. I'm surprised you didn't pull up with any Pokemon cards. I'm surprised you didn't pull up with any Pokemon cards here.
Yeah,
Try to find some of your friends.
that's right. Golly. Okay.
LA
okay,
for you.
okay.
It's LA for you.
On behalf of the most wonderful person I know, Kimmy Chan, super producer extraordinaire, and me, I'm Nick Cho.
And I'm Kevin Greider.
Okay, see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
And next week we'll talk about how men overcompensate.